We are here with Lukas Robinson, aka Robin Poker, contestant on the inaugural season of Game of Gold, which has kind of taken the poker world by storm. Just to start off, Lukas, can you tell us a little bit about your poker background? I know you've set a poker world record. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So I quit my job literally the end of 2020 to do a challenge, which was 1,000 hours and 100 days of streaming poker, 0 days off. Where that come across was Ali Shaban, who is a current PokerStars sponsor streamer. He done the same. He quit his job, done 1,000 hours in 125 days, and he ended up getting sponsored from PokerStars, and he's been a pro ever since. I actually met him in I think it was 2019 in Lex Live in London, and I was having a conversation with him and someone else, and that other person was like, "Why don't you?" Because I basically said, "Oh, I do really want to start my own stream," and he then was like, "Why don't you try and beat Ollie's record?" And I'd never heard of it, and I was like, "What is Ollie's record?" And he was like 1,000 hours in 125 days, and I literally looked at Ollie and I was like, "You are a crazy person." But then there was something in my crazy mind was like, like what if? So I didn't really look into it until a year later. I started my streamed around a full-time job, probably the hardest year of my life. I was doing like 9 to 5, sleeping on my lunch break and then streaming till like early in the morning. And I was doing that like 5, 6 days a week. Um, and it got to the end of the year and I was like, I really want to make it as a professional poker player, but I know I'm not good enough. Like I've made 5K profit this year. That's obviously not enough money to go full time with poker. So I'm actually going to try the challenge. And I announced the challenge and I got a few people in there and like Easy with Aces, who was friends with Egyptian. I was friends with big names basically telling me, be careful because you do know that, yes, Ollie completed the challenge, but he went to hospital after it. He wasn't in a good state. And as soon as I explained to them, listen, I've planned out my diet, I've planned out the tournaments I'm going to play, I've planned out my sleep, I've planned out all my supplements, I've planned out going for walks, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, all right, okay, I think you can do it. But obviously it wasn't as easy as that. And yeah, I did end up completing it. But that's kind of what got me a few more eyes in the poker community. And then I've been a professional poker player since.
Key to life is balance. Awesome. Yeah, I think that's the correct approach. You talked about your interaction with Daniel. To me, that was one of my favorite moments from the show. I think one of the most famous lines was when you told him, your speech play made me fold, and you folded that hand. Describe that interaction. What was it like playing against Negreanu specifically?
It's the dream come true. Like it's if you were to say on my top of my poker bucket list to play against Daniel Negreanu, that would have been number one if I'm honest. Playing the WSOP main event was up there, and I played that with my dad for the first time. That was an amazing experience a few years ago. But I'm sure most people would say Daniel Negreanu. Most people our age, Daniel Negreanu is the number one person that kind of was our idols growing up, or he certainly was mine. Watching all his speech plays, watching all his bluffs, and calling out people's cards. So to play not only on the same table as him, but to play pots against him and it be televised was, yeah. Even though I did get bluffed by him, but again, that's just like one of the hands that I'll never forget for the rest of my life. And yeah, I did have a talk on actually Daniel's podcast on trying to hear his thoughts on kind of his speech play and all. That's why he's the greatest of all time, or one of the greatest of all time, because his speech play, like I said at the time, did make me fold the second nut straight.
Yeah, awesome. That was an iconic moment for sure. Excited to hear that on his podcast as well. Um, During especially the first few episodes, right when it began, there were people, I can remember Josh in particular saying that you might be a little nervous, that there were jitters. Right when you first started, you talked a little bit about kind of the bright lights of the TV show. It's a different environment. Were you a little nervous at the beginning, and were your nerves able to be calmed down throughout the course of the show?
Yeah, I think you can see. I think in the first sit and go, I was like, shit. I was so much more nervous than I looked as well. I was shaking. I was just like so nervous going into it. Like I said, playing against one of my biggest idols, Daniel Negreanu. It's all context, right? So when you put into context, and people can kind of know why I played. I played pretty poorly, but people can kind of see the context. I'm the youngest on the show by far. At the time, I was 24 years old. I think the second youngest was maybe Kevin Martin or Charlie Carroll. They're, I think, like 6 years older than me. The least experienced by far. Potentially, I'd say me and Kiner. But the thing is about Kiner is she plays a lot of live poker. She doesn't really play online. So she was used to that live poker environment. I didn't really play much live at this point. I was only used to playing online. No, like I said, never been on a TV table before, never been under those big bright lights. Not only a TV table in a small event, but obviously a TV table in a poker reality TV event, playing against Daniel Negreanu. Like, when you put it all into context, people can be like, right, I can understand some of the plays now. And it's so much easier to be a chat pro, right? I've been used to the chat pros with streaming, but the YouTube comments are a different level. And to be honest, I was a bit upset reading some of the comments from like the sit and go, just because I think we had to wait a whole year to see the show because it was filmed last October, which people don't realize in South Korea. So I was waiting. I was so excited to see the show. And then I didn't realize how kind of badly I played that sit and go. And then obviously to see not nice comments like, who's this? Why is he on the show? But then you can see as the show progresses, the confidence I get. I just needed that kind of first sit and go to get it out of the way. And obviously that's why I was kind of nervous because like this might be the end of the show, right? Don't want to spoil too much, but I at least make it to the second stage when I'm like, right, this is my time now. I've got the nerves out the way. I'm used to the bright lights. Let's just kind of show what my game is in these kind of heads up sit and goes. And yeah, that's kind of what I tried to achieve for the rest of the show.
Nice. And I think you achieved it pretty well. How did you get involved in the show in the first place?
So at the time, I was sponsored by GG Poker. I was a streamer, part of their like stream team. I was just in Vegas last year, and the kind of my manager came to me and asked me. I didn't know they said they've come out in a few interviews and said they interviewed 50 people. They didn't really interview me, so which is obviously like a nice feeling. I think they obviously kind of just wanted me on the show to. I really like the balance they got on the show. I think they, like I said, I'm the youngest, I'm the least experienced, but they have obviously a lot of mixture of big names, lot of mixture of online people, live people, mixed games, big names, small names, and you can see on the show. I think the smaller names, which includes myself, you can see us growing and getting more confident on the show, and that's all I wanted. I think GG wanted me to kind of on the show to bring that youth, bring that excitement, bring that energy. And they wanted to try and obviously create some new names in poker because we all know the biggest names in poker, who the biggest names are. But I think it's nice. It's time to bring some new faces into poker, the next generation. And yeah, they believed that would be me. And like I said, I have nothing but thanks to GG for that opportunity. It was opportunity of a lifetime. And to be honest, I'm hungry for more. Whether they do season 2 and I get invited back, or whether I go into more reality TV shows, I'm definitely. Yeah, after this experience, I've got the first taste. I definitely want to do more.
Yeah, awesome. I think it was a smart for them to do the balance too. Obviously, we all like watching the legends play, but getting to see the dynamic between the new players and the older players, and kind of getting a taste of everything, I think that kind of made the experience a lot better. And speaking of kind of the bosses, I know a lot of people, including me, were a little upset after the first round when you had the team with Negreanu and Koon eliminated, two of the biggest names in the show. What was the feeling kind of in your head and on your team when you survived the first round and such a collection of bosses were eliminated?
So obviously, I think everyone was kind of happy that was on the show because so many good like players went out the show. So it actually probably give us a higher chance of winning the show, right? But then you also had in the back of your mind, well, now Daniel Negreanu's gone out, now Kevin Martin, now Jason Koon, it might not be as big as the show as we think it's going to be. And I think obviously the bosses are a bit thingy about that too, but that just shows that it's not rigged. There's comments that are being like, this is so rigged, this is so scripted. If it was scripted or rigged, why would Daniel Negreanu go out? And the thing is as well, right, what people don't realize, they flew us all out to South Korea. That was day 2. So day 2, 4 people went off the show, and we were so surprised when they said that, because they're like, Jesus, like that's why we were so not wanting to go out, because we flew all the way to South Korea to then literally go home 2 days later. It was so intense. But yeah, it was obviously, I wanted this. I played against Daniel Negreanu, and that was kind of like a bucket list. But I also wanted to kind of be on the team of a Daniel Negreanu or a Jason Koon. So I was kind of disappointed that that didn't happen. And obviously, imagine making it to the final round playing against Daniel Negreanu would have been insane experience. But I think overall, people were secretly very happy that a lot of them crushes went out on round 1.
Yeah, definitely. And I know your round 2 team. There was a lot of conversation that y'all had in the war room. You were saying, we're the underdog team. We got this. And then kind of on the contrary, you had Olga saying, we're screwed. We're not going to win. Can you talk a little bit about your relationship with Olga and how difficult it was for you guys to kind of manage completely opposite expectations?
Now, to be honest, so obviously you see that like Josh and Maria had round 1 together, were in the same team, and then they were in the same team in round 2. So they grew a close relationship. Me and Olga didn't know each other before the show. Same with Nikita, really. But that another side is you don't see that. We were literally spending 10 to 12 hours a day with them, and also spending time with them, having like dinner after the show each day, having drinks with them and stuff like that. So it's kind of, you do grow kind of a relationship with them. I described it on Dean Eggs' podcast, was in our team the second round. Nikita was like the older sister. I was like the middle brother. And then Olga was like the youngest sister. So like in that scene where me and Olga are kind of bickering and she's saying, oh, we have no chance, I'm kind of like, we're like the younger 2 siblings. And then Nikita comes in as the older sister and is like, right, cut it out. So it was kind of, because Daniel Negreanu basically mentioned about like, you know, you were trying to sing to Olga, like, does that impress the ladies? And I'm like, in that scene, I literally I mentioned my girlfriend, right? So there was a lot of like comments of like, oh, look at Lukas trying to impress Olga. She's married, she has kids. I've been with my girlfriend for 6 years. It was definitely more of like a sister-brother relationship. And that was the same. Same goes for Nikita. And you can see same goes for obviously Josh and Maria. You get such a close bond with being on the same team with people, especially if you're in the same team twice. So it was, I kind of knew the personality of Olga at that point. And you can see I've always got a smile on my face. Like, we're having fun with it. We're on TV. We've got to create some entertainment, right? So I knew that inside that Olga has that fight in there. You saw from the first scene go, right, she's aggressive. She's an amazing player. But it was kind of just having some fun banter back and forth. And then obviously, yeah, Nikita comes in and we do some meditation and stuff like that. And Olga becomes a lot more confident. So I really liked our dynamic. I liked our team. I do feel like I got put on the 2 weaker teams. So I say that, and that includes me, right? My strategy going into the game was survival. And when I'm the weakest player, one of the weakest players, the least experienced player, to survive, I rarely needed to be on strong teams. And then, so for me on paper, I don't think it's close that I was on the 2 weaker teams, just based off the unknown, right? Olga and Nikita were pretty unknown. The first round, Andy plays cash games. He's not used to sit and goes. David is like quite an old school reg. So David had the most experience in round 1 in our team, hence why he went last in our team. But I didn't have any crushes on my team. I didn't have any Jason Koons, Daniel Negreanu's, Fedor Holtz's, Junglemans of the world, which I was a bit disappointed with, because even to just pick their brain for 10 hours to speak about poker hands would have been an amazing, amazing experience. But so that's why I say, right, I had to pump us up because Olga was a bit down, like, we're going to go out. And I'm like, no, this is the underdog story. You don't see in movies, you don't see the underdog. Like, they don't win if they're just like all sad and don't try. You've got to give everything you've got. And I don't regret anything that happened in the show, because you see in that round 2, we fight, we fought to the very end. And yeah, I don't think Olga would have had any regrets. I know that obviously she got upset, but I think if you would ask her now if she had any regrets, I don't think she would.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. definitely, yeah, would have been nice to, I guess, be paired with different people. But I think, yeah, y'all fought, and yeah. But then there always begs the question for kind of next time. I'm not sure if any details have been revealed to you about a season two. Do you kind of have any insight that you can share about the possibility of a season two? If that's something that was ever talked about?
They've never mentioned it to me, and that's not me being hush hush. I just can say right now they've not mentioned it to me. Whether that means they've not invited me to season two, and they've mentioned it to other players, who knows? I know that they've had mentioned that there is going to be season two. I think they're obviously just waiting to see what happens in the end, like what the numbers are like, what makes sense. Obviously, if the numbers don't make sense for them to do a season two, because obviously I think they spent a lot of money, a lot of budget on season one, then it wouldn't make sense for season two. But who knows? Let's say if it's a massive success, which I think it has been so far, it might get picked up by a network. They might not need it to get picked up by a network. They might think it's gone a success. From what they've told me, they are really happy with how it's gone. And whether I'm on season two or not, to be honest, I'll always be the number one biggest fan of Game of Gold. Whether I'll be on it, whether I won't, yeah, I hope there is a season two. I obviously hope I'm on it, but if, like I said, if I'm not, then I'll be definitely the number one biggest fan.
Right. I think a lot of us are hoping there's going to be a season two. If there were, do you have any players in mind that maybe weren't a part of season one that you would like to watch on the screen in season two?
Good question. They actually, I think after the show, I did suggest people about like who to suggest basically to go about on the show. I think they should go maybe get some like kind of big names that play poker in. So the likes of like Adam22, I think is a very big name, but also really loves poker. I know he actually gets coached by my coach BBZ sometimes. Kind of go that route, so then it becomes even bigger, because I feel like maybe Alexandra Botez. She's been watching Game of Gold on stream, and I've been in a stream, and she's been kind of loving watching, and she would love to be on season two. So I don't think it should be all influencers. I think if you get like two or three, keep the right balance of having some big names in poker, some newer names in poker, let's say some like old school, new school, but also maybe adding like maybe even it's just one or two influencers that really love the game of poker, but can also kind of bring a new audience into poker as well. I feel like if you get an Alexandra Botez, I know she's doing a lot of poker content and she's bringing new faces into poker, which is only good for everyone involved. Adam22 got a massive audience, get new players. Like these type of people that, like I said, can bring new faces into poker. And I think this is what Gigi wanted to do. Gigi wanted to do this show, not only to obviously for the actual show to bring new faces into poker, but so other poker companies look at that and go, right, that inspires us to create a show similar, which can only just keep growing poker, which we know at the moment is poker's booming, whether it's online or live, and stuff like this can only obviously help.
Thank you so much for coming on and doing this interview.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for the kind words. And yeah, I look forward to watching the rest of the show myself. Like I said, I'm one of the biggest fans, whether I'm on it or not. So I hope I hope people enjoy the rest. And yeah, if this is season two, then look forward to that.
Yeah, nice meeting you, Lucas.